Facebook has suffered a record loss of $120 billion in a single day. You heard that right. $120 billion. That's more than the GDP of some countries. It's the biggest single day loss for any company in the US stock market history. In other words, the highest ever loss made by any company ever. After Facebook presented its second quarter report, its shares were down by more than 19%. It lost around $120 billion in its market value. It's the biggest one-day market cap loss by any company in the history of American markets. The market value of Facebook on Wednesday was at $630 billion, but after losing $119 billion, that figure came down to $510 billion by Thursday's close. If that's a lot of numbers for you, understand this. It's a huge loss to Facebook. They've burned a big hole in their pockets. After the biggest one-day slide, around $17 billion were lost from founder Mark Zuckerberg's net worth. Facebook earned the revenue of $13.23 billion through market analysts, though market analysts had projected it to cross $13.36 billion. Wall Street had expected the tech giant to cross 1.49 billion global daily active users, but it could not manage to touch anything beyond 1.5. In fact, the figure is 1.47 billion users in this quarter. The internet firm has reported that daily active users rates were up 11% year-on-year basis for this quarter, but this figure did not live up to the expectations of analysts. This rise somehow was supported by the user data of the Indo-Pacific region, led by India, Indonesia and other countries in this region. It looks like people in the Indo-Pacific region might still believe in Facebook's capacity to protect their data. They're still active users, but this is not the trend elsewhere in the world. Facebook's user base in Europe has been declining since the Cambridge Analytica scandal and the introduction of general data protection regulation in the European Union. The user base in Europe reported by the company is 279 million, 0.4. That's 0.4 million less than what Wall Street had expected. Average revenue per user also was on the lower side. The company earned $5.97 per user globally. Surprisingly, Facebook had lost the earnings from advertisement. It had a little over $13 billion of ad earnings. The markets had projected it at $13.16 billion. Now take a look at some of the biggest losses in a single day in the US stock markets and you'll get an idea of how big Facebook's loss has been. Facebook's chief financial officer David Wenner has said that the company will continue its focus on privacy and will make it better. Some media analysts believe that the company will bounce back in the next quarter. After Facebook, Twitter shares also took a beating at the stock exchange today, so it's been a bad week for social media giants. Twitter shares plunged by as much as 20% in early trading today after the company shared its second quarter results. According to Twitter, its monthly users dropped by 1 million in the second quarter. The company predicts that user growth will fall further in the coming months as it fights spam, fake accounts and malicious rhetoric on the platform. But there was a silver lining for Twitter this quarter. The company reported its third consecutive profitable quarter. It earned $100 million in the last 3 months. Around the same time last year, the company had reported a loss of $116 billion. So that's good news for Twitter. But Facebook and Twitter share similar woes. Twitter's CEO, Jack Dorsey, has said that it's his priority to reduce abusive conversations on the platform. He went on to say that his company's machine learning algorithms are identifying more than 9 million potential spam or automated accounts every week. So a lot of you must have seen your user count going down. They're killing the bot accounts on Twitter, and that's costing them a lot of money. Let's compare the $120 billion rout in market cap of Facebook with the GDP of some countries. The United States has a GDP of $19,390 billion, the second largest economy in the world. China's GDP is $12,014 billion. Japan has an annual GDP of $4,872 billion, and India's GDP is $2,611 billion. That's $2 trillion. Pakistan's GDP is $303.993 billion, while data shows that Bangladesh's GDP is $261.374 billion. Kuwait stands at $120 million, while the Ukraine's GDP is $109.32 billion. Ecuador. For Ecuador, the number is $102.31 billion, while Sri Lanka is at $87.591 billion. And next come figures from Oman, $66.5 billion. Botswana's annual GDP is barely 17 billion, while that of Afghanistan is $0.0262 billion. Zimbabwe stands at $0.0219 billion. Compare that to what Facebook has lost in one day's trading. It's not just the stock market that is giving Facebook the jitters. Its users seem to be moving away from the platform. The social media giant still remains the core business. The social media platform, rather, remains the core business of Facebook. The company is losing teenage users, which is one of the most important demographic for them. A study carried out by the Pew Research Center found that just 51% of teenagers between 13 and 17 in the US use Facebook anymore. The number of users has dropped by 20% in the last 2 years alone. Teenagers are now turning to other platforms like YouTube, Instagram and Snapchat. In February this year, a similar study carried out by a market research company made similar claims. It claimed that Facebook's American user base in the 12 to 17 age category declined by nearly 10% in 2017. The study further claimed that Facebook will lose more than 2 million American users under the age of 25 this year.